Welcome to Afterthoughts, everybody. This is our Recommend or Refute episode. You know the rules. We go around, we talk about a movie that we have each watched recently and whether we would recommend it or refute it. I am your host, John Garcia, and joining me tonight is Ryan King.
Hey, how's it going? I try to make a joke about like us being 2 minutes after the previous one and like talk to myself, but I can't figure out I don't know how to make that work.
We're one episode after the previous one. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'd have to talk to myself
out
on the episode already. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what it could be.
We are not beyond the infinite 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We are firmly within
We're
the
stuck.
infinite 2 minutes.
I'm beyond the infinite 2 glasses of bourbon, though.
That's true, yes.
So there we are.
Good point. Good point.
And the other voice here is Michael Dixon.
What's up, guys? Excited to hear what you watched this week.
Excited to talk about it. Ryan, why don't you kick us off? I hear you've got something good for us. Something from the Disney factory.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the giant Disney factory. I've watched a lot of movies in theaters this year. I'm actually pretty surprised.
Hey,
I'm
congratulations, Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of them were good movies. Like I actually was sitting down and I'm like, hey, these are like Oscar movies that are definitely going to be nominated and are really good.
What is a lot
ones in there too?
What is a lot of movies in the theater for you? We're talking like 6 or 7?
Yeah, it's probably more than, I think it's more than 7. So yeah, it's been a pretty decent. Yeah, I would
Flirting
say
with double
for
digits?
a while.
Yeah,
For a while, especially having kids, it was like 1 or 2 for the whole
sure.
year, and it was usually like a tentpole movie that was like only in the theater.
Aquaman.
Yeah, definitely Aquaman. Anytime I needed to go to sleep, just went to the theater and turned on Aquaman. So yeah, one of those usual staples of going and seeing movies is going to Marvel movies. That has fallen off for a little while here, where I kind of stopped going to some of them. But the Marvels is out.
Captain Marvel, the Annihilator. You took everything from me, and now I'm returning the favor.
What is happening to me? She's entangled our light-based powers.
So we switch places whenever we use them.
Strong theory.
You can absorb light.
I can see it.
And Kamala,
Who's Kamala?
hi.
She can turn light into physical matter, which I have never heard of.
I could totally show you.
No!
For some reason, I'm not entirely sure, Darla and my daughter Ella have started watching Marvel movies. She's kind of in the age where she can.
I'm so sorry.
She can watch them now. Yeah, and they're not inappropriate. Though I look at it and I'm like, is it like, I think it's 33 movies. If you wanted to get to like, I know everything separate from the TV shows, I know everything. It'd be 33 fucking movies, which would be more than a month if you watched one a day, and is more than 3 days if you fucking sat down and just watched them all back to
They're
back.
working towards a
Never going to
semester-long
sleep.
course, and they'll fucking just get that syllabus for you.
Yes, yeah, it's ridiculous. And I think I've watched like very little of the shows. I've only watched the decent shows. Shout out to season 2 of Loki. I enjoyed that one. So yeah, I went to see the Marvels this weekend. I did rewatch Captain Marvel because the kids had not seen Captain Marvel, so they needed that reference to get into it. We as a family watched Miss Marvel and really enjoyed it. I actually really liked Ms. Marvel. It's kind of outside of the continuity. You can go into it. It gives you what you need to know. The design of it's a little bit different. We talked to Scott Pilgrim about some of the comic book stuff kind of bouncing around or whatever. It uses some of that. It has an interesting way to like represent texting each other. Like there's a lot of cool things it did differently. Barely any of which carry over to this movie. But so the Marvels, I think it's getting pretty heavily mixed reviews to mostly maybe negative reviews. It's hard to tell how much of that is either one, just fatigue. Like I feel like every Marvel thing has kind of just been there's a group that just like is tired and just goes and says it sucks. The WWE fan base. And this one in particular having a main female cast also upsets a group of people who don't go watch it. They just go review bomb it. And then I think that now, having seen the movie, it is kind of a middle of the road movie, and not in a terrible way, but it doesn't hit a high. It kind of does what it needs to do. It's not 3 hours. It's relatively straightforward to watch. It's encapsulated. And so all in all, it's like a good kind of outing, not a great outing. And I think with Marvel, a lot of people think back with nostalgia glasses to fucking years ago of movies that you go back and watch them and they are good, but are they necessarily like absolutely amazing? But in people's minds, they were, right? They were absolutely amazing the way that they remember them. And is not doing well in the box office. And I hear a lot of excuses of why it's not doing well in the box office, but I think after like Barbie, Oppenheimer, the things that we've seen this year that have done well, you can do well if you can get the right kind of movie out. And I guess this just isn't it. This just didn't hit right.
They also have not been advertising for this movie very much. Like, they seem to be kind of trying to crater their
Seems
own
like they're sandbagging
movie.
it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and there's a portion of that the strike has prevented what you would usually have the uptick of having, like,
Sure.
all of the actresses go around and just, answer all the questions on the same fucking questions over and over again on every TV show and morning news and whatever assault that you would get, that they're not doing. But they didn't do that for Spider-Verse, and that movie fucking killed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think they were kind of starting to run into that before Barbie and Oppenheimer. So it's like, that's not, I'm not buying that either. I think this is just like, in principle, people kind of don't want to go see it. Like, it's just in it, it's just kind of where Marvel movies are at. I would say the strengths of this are really Brie Larson. I think she gets to do more than she did in Captain Marvel. One of my complaints about the Captain Marvel movie, which I did enjoy, is she's a little stiff. And I think it's supposed to be because she's like amnesiac kind of character, and she's like bought into this bullshit that she's being fed by I forget what it is, Ultimate AI, whatever thing is. And so she kind of plays off stiff, and it was a little bit weird. Here she's getting to like actually kind of like try to get to be a little bit more of a character, and I think that works better. She's still a bit stiff. It wasn't great. And I'm sure I'm going to butcher names. Imam Vellani.
When have you ever done that, Ryan?
I know, I'm always perfect. Imam Vellani, who is from Ms. Marvel, she's continuing reprising her character Ms. Marvel here.
She's like
she is
child.
really, she is really fucking good. Like, I think she's got a really great future. She's really fucking good. She was standout, and I think is what made Ms. Marvel really work as a TV show. Here, her ability to emote, her excitement. There are moments that are quiet, but her facial expressions can get across like the pain or whatever of the moment. Like, that elevates this movie and like actually makes it really good. If she wasn't in it, I think this would be a total like bland white toast movie, but she kind of pushes it up to a level that does end up pulling it into being enjoyable. Honestly, it's like, I would say kind of the villain is like, I think I kind of got what their thing was, but it's one of those, like, it's not necessarily a great villain, and I feel like that's also what kind of throws it out of whack. Completely being honest, I don't think I know what the villain's name was. I'm certain they said it, and I have no fucking clue, and because it was one of those... Yeah, it was one of those aliens' names, and I missed it when they said it quickly, and then I never fucking heard it again. And that's a problem, that doesn't necessarily stick around. But they go back and explain that like Captain Marvel kind of like disappeared from the movies for a while. And I think it was because her power set was too fucking powerful. And this movie's trying to go back and be like, oh, let's give it a reason of like, what was she doing? Because we were always like, oh, Captain Marvel's off planet. And they just waved our hands and then like moved on. explained that after the events of the first Captain Marvel movie, she went back and just fucked up the Kree and like destroyed their ultimate intelligence
Wait,
and
what?
has been fighting them. Yeah, she just completely fucked them up.
That's
But in
completely
doing
against
so-
the entire message of Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. In doing so,
Oh, my
it caused
God.
a civil war because the Kree didn't know what to do anymore because they didn't have their AI, and so they split into two factions and ended up pretty much destroying their planet. Their sun is burnt out. They're out of water, and their atmosphere isn't
God.
breathable anymore. And so they blame Captain
Oh, my
Marvel as
God.
this like ultimate annihilator of their planet and their race. I don't know why I'm laughing at this.
Or were the Kree? What the fuck were the Kree again? Are they the Golden people or are they something else? I can't even remember.
No, they were. I mean, you kind of see them in a few. Like, so Ronan from the Guardians of the Galaxy's a Kree.
Oh, okay.
Like
Gotcha.
Zealot, and then and
They're the like
Captain
fake
Marvel.
bad guys from Captain Marvel, right? But they're actually not
Right,
bad
it turns
guys.
out they're
actually good
No,
guys.
the other way around. The other way
Right.
around. The Krees were the quote good guys that turned out to be the bad guys, and the Skrulls were the bad guys that turned out to be the good guys.
okay.
Yeah.
Too many words. Okay, this
Yeah,
makes
too
more
many
sense
different- yeah,
now.
So many
different.
proper nouns.
Okay.
Fucking
All right.
Marvel.
Yeah. So one of the Kree is opening portals. This isn't one of those interesting villain ideas. She's opening portals on other planets to suck up their natural resources back to her home planet. Which I vaguely am like, okay, I think I kind of get it. But it like introduces
I
a
have so
whole
many
host of
questions.
other questions. Yes, it does. And in fact, one of them I didn't even realize till later. And this is like, again, my family's starting to really do me honors. By Darla asked, she was like, wait, on the second planet where they soaked up all the water, Captain Marvel crew, the Marvels, like they teleported away, and she's like, we never came back to that planet. They're all dead, right? Like they got their, like they didn't close the portal. She's like, all their water got sucked up. Those people are just dead. I was like, yes, yeah, they didn't answer that. That just wasn't important to them, I guess, in this movie.
Not as important as liberating the other planets.
Oh my god.
I would say this is the like, it's a fun space adventure, but it doesn't reach the like comedy heights of Guardians of the Galaxy. The characters are good and memorable, and they give them something to do. It's nice that it doesn't touch on a million other things, which is what I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of nice, that it was at the time refreshing, that it wasn't like tied into everything else so tough that you needed to come in knowing a lot. Here you don't really. They actually pretty much just give it to you right out. Like they introduce the person, it's like, oh hey, I'm so and so, and this is what I've been doing, this is how I got my powers, and
Yeah.
they just give you all the shit you need to know right up front. So I give it like a C plus B minus. I don't know, like it's in that kind of range of like it passes and it's watchable, but it's not great, but it's also not bad. Yeah. My family they enjoyed it and they had a good time. So they also enjoyed the Eternals, which as watching it was like okay, but that one really fell apart for me fast. And this it's better than the Eternals. There's a lot that's better than the Eternals. Side note here, in watching the movies and going back, I had not watched Doctor Strange : I don't remember, Madness Multiverse, whatever it was, because again, I was fatigued at that point, and I think a lot of other people were, because that one also didn't rate very well and do particularly well. Yeah, that movie's not very good. There's a lot of problems with that one, and it's I will say Sam Raimi did an interesting job of making that one kind of horror-esque, and that was kind of cool. Like they made Scarlet Witch scary, and for some reason Doctor Strange became a zombie thing in a way that didn't make sense to me, but whatever.
Is George C. Scott in it though?
Yeah, I wish.
Would have been great.
The big problem in that one that really irks me, that is just the reason I want to call out, is they introduce American Chavez as somehow important to opening portals so Scarlet Witch can go to a dimension where her kids that she just made up actually exist. I think.
What are we even talking about?
Yeah, but
Are
anyway,
we talking about Doctor Strange's
Sure reminds
colon,
me-
or are we talking about?
yeah,
the
we're talking about
Marvels?
inside Doctor Strange's colon.
It's Doctor Strange's colon.
There's a whole nother universe in his colon.
Yes, that's where it all takes
It's
place.
one of the multiverses. Yeah. That's
Why do you think
important.
that America Chavez opens up stars? You know, the
Star
starfish shape.
Oh my god.
Her character might as well be a box with a thing in it that opens portals. They let her do absolutely nothing and just chase her around as a MacGuffin for the movie. And then it doesn't end up fucking mattering. They just like shows Scarlet Witch that her own children are horrified of her. Her own children she made up are horrified of her. And then she's like, oh, and stops. Like, that's the resolution.
It's a story told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
But somehow that is important to opening up multiverses or something, which then the Loki TV show also does and explains differently. So I have no fucking clue what's going on in the Marvel universe. And also
either.
the Marvels opens up another wormhole to another dimension and doesn't explain how the fuck that works or plays into any of these other things. Anyway, it's the X-Men one where Kelsey Grammer is the Beast.
Oh, Kelsey Grammer? Oh my God. The Rumble?
Where he like plays the Grinch, basically, like he does all the hair on him. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's just all hair.
Yeah.
It's better hair now. The graphics are better than back then, but
Darius Emmanuel Grouch the Third, the Beast.
you want to see a beast fucking alligator bunny plane?
Yes, there we go. Bring it all back.
Okay,
Wow.
so Ryan, I have lots of questions. So
You
I
only get
liked.
one.
One of the very few people in this world that liked Captain Marvel, and I only liked two Marvel movies: the first Iron Man and Captain Marvel. The first Iron Man because it was actually like an original
Like a
concept
new
and
thing,
was
yeah.
an interesting movie and it was fun. And then after that, I was like, oh, they're just all doing this again, and this sucks. And please stop doing this. Captain Marvel, I liked because I think Brie Larson is really great and because it was a movie about American imperialism, like challenging American imperialism. And I was watching this in the theater, losing my mind. Like, holy shit, I cannot believe Disney is doing this. That is insane. It's like, I think also like Ben Mendelsohn is always great. And, he's playing the leader of the
Kree.
Yeah.
the space
The Skrull,
Palestinians.
he's the other way.
Oh, the other way. Sorry.
Yeah, the space
Yeah,
Palestinians. The one that where they like are painted as the bad guys and the evil terrorists the whole time, and you realize, oh, actually, they're just being persecuted mercilessly by all these other imperialist powers. And then Captain Marvel has to realize, oh wow, like we've actually treated these creatures so horribly, like we should actually team up with them and help to fight off their oppressors. And like she has to realize that she has been a part of the problem and a part of the imperialist machine that has been creating all of this terror in the world or in the galaxy. And I thought that was really incredible that like I couldn't believe that Marvel had the balls to do that. And I thought, Brie Larson and Ben Mendelsohn were great, and Sam Jackson is always good. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting movie. And it sounds like from what you're saying about the Marvels that they're trying to pivot back into pro-imperialism. Is that what's happening here with her, like, just like stealing water from planets and shit? Or is it trying to comment on the first movie or about American imperialism? Or is it just like a dumb Marvel movie that doesn't know what it's trying to say?
I think it's a dumb Marvel movie that doesn't really know what it's trying to say. At the end of it, there is this, like, I do think that her destroying like everything and completely fucking up the Kree is really questionable. Where, yeah, you're right. At the end of Captain Marvel, you kind of have this resolution that is, like the, potentially Palestinians or whatever refugee group you want to kind of go to, of like, okay, this is a lot harder problem than I thought. And yeah, I'm kind of been fucking it up without even realizing it. And then she goes and does something that's the same thing and fucks up like another planet as well. And then in doing so, in this movie, it also fucks up another colony of Skrull, another refugee colony that she has to save and get off of a planet. And so like everything she touches, she fucks up, is kind of all we necessarily see in this now. And they do kind of get to, at the end, sort of this, like, she's talking to the other person and being like, you shouldn't steal all the stuff from these other planets, like, fuck them up because of your problem. And then she's like, I guess I could jumpstart your son for you. And then that would start to fix things. And she does that. But it's kind of like, Captain Marvel just has the power to go into a sun. Like, that doesn't necessarily, like, it doesn't teach me how I can solve some kind of complex conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it is that just like comic book level of our powers got entangled. How do we unentangle them? Oh, this person's planet's fucked up. Superman flies in the sun. There, it's all fixed, right? Like, it's just Yeah, it honestly is just kind of at that surface level. And you're right. So going back, we watched Captain Marvel again. I mentioned that, and I had liked it when I watched it before, but I do feel like I got even more of an appreciation for it watching it again. That I do think it is one of the better of the Marvel movies. And going back,
sure,
like watching, we watched Civil War again, which is one of, or not Civil War, fucking Civil War. We watched Winter Soldier again, and I was like, God, I really fucking like Winter Soldier because it also similarly is talking about this, like the government's fucking you over, and like they're just a cover for themselves. Like the new order is the old order, and like they're just trying to keep you in line and distract you from everything, and like all of that like works really well in that movie too, and is interesting. And I kind of feel like the movies that end up having a little bit of something to say, and honestly their story is kind of just there, like it's enough of what it needs and it doesn't have to pull in these other things, and it isn't really trying really hard to set up a bunch of other things, are really the ones that work well. And it's weird that this new phase, they have the opportunity to kind of fucking do what they want for a little while until they figure it out, but they're really trying to hammer in this like multiverse thing that's not working. And I feel like there's so many plot threads they're just gonna drop. Because like I'm like, the Eternals are supposed to be something. I was like, we will never fucking see or hear of them again.
No.
Like it didn't work. They're gone. Everything that was set up in that movie, fucking forget about it.
Nobody talks about that space baby that's on Earth that's been aborted. Like nobody mentions that shit.
It's over. We don't. Let's not
Marvel's
deal with
like,
that.
all right, we tried sex one time. We're never doing that again. We are returning this to the most sexless movie franchise that has ever existed, and we will never go back there.
No sex on the rocks like there was before.
We're just gonna have a bunch of hot people in tight bodysuits doing action shit, but we're not gonna have any sex. We're not gonna reference any sexual shit. It's just gonna be a bunch of 12-year-olds that don't know why they have boners.
Well, it sounds like the Marvels was not as great as Captain Marvel was.
Yeah, no.
But are you also? You said you were recommending it.
I think
he was
I don't know what I'm. I don't know what I'm doing.
Are you on the fence about that? Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'm on the fence.
You have to pick
this
one,
is like,
Ryan.
See, he's doing a me. He's pulling a me.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's a me.
That's
Johnny
John's. Ripping your scrotum on the
here.
fence is John's thing.
Yeah.
Not yours.
I'll say
only I can John Ham myself on a fence. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I'll say like I'll end up pushing and being like, I recommend it only in that I feel like Marvel has had so many confusing flops for a while here that this is one that actually like kind of goes back to like the basic superhero shtick, and it's fine. Like if you're like tired of all of them and you want to just like, I just want to see my superheroes go into the sun, like this is gonna work for you.
When you said jumpstart your son, I thought you were saying SON son, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe they are getting
back
some
to the
sex.
His motor going. Oh my god. All right, well there you have it, everybody. That was a long ramble and a recommend for the Marvels. Take from that what you will about the rest of the Marvel series. Let's go over to Dixon. Dixon, what do you got? What are you bringing?
Yeah, so I saw a new 2023 film last night at Austin Film Society, and it's kind of stuck in my head since I saw it, and I think it's going to be kind of difficult to talk about it, so I'm going to try to do the best I can here, but I want to talk about it because I want to recommend it to John, because I think that you would really enjoy it. I'm interested to hear your response. So the new film that I saw, it was called Once Within a Time.
Once within a time.
This is written and directed by Godfrey Reggio, who famously made Kanehsatake and other Scotsy movies after that. But that's kind of his big famous documentary that he made that is basically a silent film with a bunch of stock footage of random historical events that kind of form a narrative as it goes along. There's no characters, there's no speaking. There's a really great Philip Glass score, and you just get this kind of narrative and story about humanity and kind of like late 20th century collapse that I think is really fascinating. I know, John, you love that movie.
Hell yeah.
His new movie, Once Within a Time, is not a documentary. It's not really scripted, but it's like a staged fiction film. There's also no dialogue. It's a silent movie, and it has an insane Philip Glass score, like Kanehsatake.
Awesome.
But it does have actors and characters. Mike Tyson is in it, which really came out of nowhere. Which I love Mike Tyson, and I thought that was I loved seeing him on screen. Shout out to Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Hell yeah.
But so it's almost like a music video. It's only 52 minutes long, and it is this visceral experience where you have these staged scenes on screen and this amazing Philip Glass score over everything. And it starts out with this kind of Garden of Eden scene and this Mother Nature character and these children that are sitting around. It's very playful. And then you have kind of the fall of man and the kind of resulting sin and chaos that comes from that. And there are different kind of modern plagues that are discussed in this movie, such as smartphone addiction and global warming and just war and capitalism and a lot of these things that are kind of taking away the innocence of humanity and bringing us to the state where we have currently arrived as a species. But it's not just a movie about the downfall of humanity. It also kind of tries to look forward and think, okay, given all of this that's happened, where do we go from here? How do we react to this and move forward as a species? Do we continue down this path that we have gone, or do we try to change things for the better and try to, move forward and achieve some sort of semblance of the innocence that we once had that was lost originally? It's hard to say too much more than that, but I will say I saw this at a theater and it was an enrapturing experience, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's definitely worth anybody checking it out and watching it. It's a very small time commitment, and it really it just really kind of blew me away and impressed me with what the movie was trying to do. So it's in theaters now. If you're lucky, it'll be playing at an art house theater in your town. I imagine it will be streaming very soon, potentially by the time this episode posts. But I definitely recommend checking out Once Within a Time. It's one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year so far.
Wow, that's fucking high praise. Damn, dude. Yeah, I mean, I love Kanehsatake. I love Powakatsi. I enjoyed that. I haven't seen the third in the Katsi trilogy.
Same.
But I intend to. And this sounds like something that I definitely need to expedite to the top of my queue that I definitely would want to go see. I'm kind of curious in terms of like engrossment with the Philip Glass score. Like that's obviously going to that's going to bring you in.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the entire way through, or are there silent moments? Is there?
It's music pretty much over the whole thing. Yeah, kind of similar to Kanehsatake. The music is really driving the narrative. But it's like the visuals are so interesting as well, right? With Kanehsatake, you're looking at stock footage and stuff that it's like kind of elongated shots of things, and with this it's incredibly well edited, like one of the best edited movies I've seen in a really long time, and just paces with the score incredibly well, and it's just really beautiful to look at.
I'm interested because when you immediately said that it wasn't like a documentary style, I was like, okay, so the editing will be much tighter. There will be like specific shots and footage within it to demonstrate points. Like I'm getting a whole sense of like what I'm in for, and the runtime too tipped me off. But yeah, it's like, does it feel like when you got out of it, did it feel like that was enough, or did you want more?
I really enjoyed it. Like I imagine if there was more of it, I would be really shocked if I wouldn't have liked it, because the 52 minutes I saw was great. But I thought it did exactly what it needed to do, and it was able to tell this vast, complex story and convey all of these ideas in a very small window of time, because it was just very well edited. And there's a mix of, there's live action footage and animation kind of mixed together into it. There's like actual animation, there's stop motion animation, there's different things kind of all coming together into this movie to really just, he's almost using every film technique that he can think of to just create the best visual experience that he can.
Man, I gotta fucking see this. I don't know what else to say.
I figured that would be
like,
your reaction to this.
I gotta fucking watch it. I gotta find it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still playing at AFS. I think I might have caught the last screening. But I'm sure it'll be online shortly.
Yeah, either via streaming or Criterion will pick it up soon, I'm sure, and throw it.
I would love if Criterion picked it up. I would buy it for sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wonder like how movies like this that are much more about the style than necessarily, what people would think of as a traditional narrative, straightforward narrative, in today's like streaming, and not just the streaming, but YouTube, TikTok, like there's just a fucking content overload where these things kind of fall, because I already feel like they fell in the cracks somewhat before as sort of, what people deride art house movies, right, or make fun of them, but at least those had a little bit more time to shine, or their moments, because there just wasn't as much stuff to compete, so you could see them and appreciate them. But to me it's similar to traditional art, which kind of has hit where there are the clear, like, I'm looking at a picture of people, or a vase of flowers or whatever, but then you have these more abstract ones that it took time for people to even appreciate, to get some of them into museums to realize what they were. But even then, still, people don't go there anymore, right, to appreciate it. And I wonder with this, like, how to get across to people, like, this is also what a movie can be. Like, this is also an experience you could have if you sit and just are in it, right? It's a very different thing where you just have to sit and kind of breathe it in versus it telling you where it's going and what's happening.
Yeah, that like kind of gives me, so I have a few initial thoughts just based on that observation, Ryan, which is, one is I thought about Pig, which is funny.
Okay.
How there's, that whole track of like classical music that has a British dude that talks about how great it is. And he talks about,
as everyone knows, classical music is the greatest music that has ever been composed.
It will always endure as long as the empire endures. And, there's like a bit of that. And I think that the more that I watch streaming movies and like streaming services grow, the more apparent it is that like human curation trumps like AI curation. Like AI will always lead you, any algorithm will lead you into more of what you like, but curation will lead you into what you've never known. And I think about that as like, it would be nice, especially even the last Recommender Refute, I talked about Death Row Game Show and how there was a director intro where the director literally just apologized for what the movie was going to be. And that was like his intro. And I think that even that has this stroke of earnestness that like, it just sets you up for whatever you're going to see. Like, that the creator at the time was having fun, but also in the present, that they've grown as a person. And I feel like some of these art house films could do with a mandatory intro that's not super long, but it kind of sets the audience up. And I say that mostly because I feel like as we continue on into consuming more streaming services and videos from streaming services, movies, there's less historical context. There's more of an emphasis on how much you can watch and what you can watch, and less on like, here's the creative voice behind it. Like, just talk to somebody or see somebody talk about it and what it means to them. And that, like, even that will nudge you into this headspace of like, oh, I could have an opinion about this. Like, I could possibly think about it in a different light and what it means to me. Like, that's something that, like, it sounds like this film also could represent for you. Like, that's what art's supposed to invoke, is emotion and how you react to it. And it's not supposed to be that you all stand around the Mona Lisa and fucking nod, that you have a moment with it. So I don't know. That's my initial thoughts anyway. And again, I'm going to fucking see this movie because I already know I would. But to the average person out there, like my dad, who did not like Killers of the Flower Moon because it was 3 hours long specifically, that's what he cited as the reason he didn't like it. I'm sure there are other reasons.
Length is never the reason that people don't like movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's always something else.
There's something else, and
Uh-huh.
they just use length to explain that. But it is that moment of like, hey, why don't you have a human moment where you connect with the artist behind it and you recognize that they put time into whatever this is. I want to see more of that in a streaming service. If I can just make it a thing, it'd be kind of cool.
I mean, Criterion Channel does a pretty good job of that. Like, they oftentimes will have intros or Q&As like as the special features on the movie, or like most streaming services don't have extras that you can see on the movie, and Criterion Channel does. And I always appreciate that, you know, they'll usually give you something. They may not be what you would get on like a full collector's edition Blu-ray, but they'll usually give you a little piece here and there.
I just wish that, like, I mean, Criterion to me is off the beaten path. Like, you're already into film. You already know you're going to.
Yeah.
But, like, if Amazon and Netflix stepped up and were like, hey, Mike Flanagan's going to intro his series. He's not going to do it every episode, but, like, he's going to do it once or twice. Like, people might be like, all right, I'll put up with a minute of somebody talking about what it could be. And then they're like, I thought about that. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'll go on and watch it. It could just open the opportunity up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that David Lynch has been able to sucker in regular people for so long.
Way to go, David Lynch.
Yeah, that's sort of the thing that I feel like you should walk away being confused. Everyone walks away being confused, but I'm fascinated. Like, regular people watched Twin Peaks for so long, the con of thinking there was a story there that there isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also wonder how much it's like movies treated as escapism, that most people are looking to escape into a movie, not there are other emotions you could get from a movie that might be uncomfortable or, you know, push you beyond, you know, push you to some new thoughts or challenge you, that you're like, well, that's not why I came to watch a movie. That's not what I wanted. But to open more people up to, like, that's an opportunity. I feel like it's kind of the same with music. Like, music is, there are so many things out there now that do explore more that you can do with music, more interesting, different, strange things. But it's like most of the populace is kind of distilled down to a few, like, really clear escapism, clear lyrics, clear point, mostly love story songs. Like, we're just locked in on that as a public, and like just
Taylor Swift, baby.
Yeah,
the
more and more
Eras
ignoring
Tour.
the sides. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Agree with all that. And I think like, yes, it's an art house movie. There's not really plot. There are ideas that are conveyed, but there's not like characters that go all the way through and like a you know, dialogue or anything like that. But I think it is an incredibly entertaining experience. And if it's only 52 minutes long, if you think you want to like take the plunge into something that's a little bit different, like, highly recommend checking it out. I don't think it is, you know, sometimes there are art house movies that I like that I'm like, I like it and I would recommend it to people because I think it's good, but I don't necessarily know that everybody is going to really like latch on to this. With
So,
this
like,
movie,
approachable. Yeah.
yeah, with this movie, it's like, yeah, it's weird. It's you know, there aren't traditional characters. Didn't feel like a regular movie, but like, if you think of it like a music video and just like, okay, I'm going to go in and approach this and try to deal with the ideas that this thing is putting out and think about what it's trying to say as it's going on, I think you'd have a really good time with it. And I don't think you have to be like a film nerd to like this movie. So I would definitely recommend people check it out. Also, the credits are cool. Like the music keeps going during the credits, and there are some cool visuals during the credits. And I would recommend if you watch it, again, it's only 52 minutes long. Go all the way through the end of the credits. There is a pretty funny joke that hits at the very end of the movie, at the end of the credits, that is pretty damn good. That I would definitely recommend people stick it all the way out for. So
nice. I will stick around. I mean, hey, 52 minutes, I can do it.
Yeah,
it's super easy. So yeah, Once Within a Time, recommend. Sounds
no,
good.
no, this is a refute.
Oh, damn it! All right, let me just revert that.
No. This is a very hard recommend for Once Within a Time. Go check it out. One of the best movies of the year.
Damn! Again, fucking just dropping that right there. That's so awesome. I want to watch it. Fuck, makes me want to get off this podcast right now and go watch it.
Also, Steven Soderbergh produced this, so it's cool to see like a successful filmmaker being like, I like this guy who keeps making weird musical documentaries. Yeah. I'm gonna put some money into this, and
fucking love it.
You know, cool to see that people are still helping Godfrey Reggio make weird movies. So
way to go, everybody!
Yeah,
Godfrey Speed, y'all. Cool. Well, I guess that rounds it down to me. I'm going to pull a move because I just remembered a movie that I watched this past Friday. I'm going to do a double recommend and go off. You know, it's
John,
justified. It's justified. I'm going off the rails here, but it's justified. I just watched Killers of the Flower Moon yesterday.
Again.
Nice. For the second time. And I fucking loved it again for the second time.
Did you like it better the second time? I liked it better on the second watch.
I liked it just as much because I already loved it beforehand. So.
Yeah.
But I did want to give a shout out because I watched a documentary that I had talked with Ryan and Dixon about offline at some point, and that is Kanehsatake, 270 Years of Resistance.
I was driving my car and I hear the news, the shooting in Oka. And that people had been there making a stand for several months. And I got very upset, of course. And I turned around and I went to Oka alone in my car. And when I arrived there was a barricade of police officers and you couldn't go into the village. So I stood around a bit and talked to a few people, including the police, and I just was amazed and I guess very worried, and I felt it's my duty. It has to be documented by one of us, what's going to happen here. So I went back to the film board and I said, I'm changing my production. I'm going to Oka right now.
Which is a documentary filmed in 1993 about the 1990 Oka conflict in Canada, in which a Mohawk reservation was encroached upon by the Canadian municipal government nearby to extend a golf course, fucking golf course, onto their land.
Jesus.
And in doing that, the Mohawk people decided we've had enough. We've been relegated to this reservation, to this spot of land. We've been told if we convert to this religion that we would be saved. Over the course of 270 years, they have fought every kind of government that's come through to try to stake claim to any piece of their land, and have slowly had it whittled away by fucking wheeling and dealing and other bullshit. And this documentary is, it's on the ground footage of what happened during this conflict that's collated by one of the members of the community. And it tells the story of them standing up against the Canadian military that comes in, along with the
Mounties.
Yeah, it's basically the Mounties. Why not? There's like a Canadian police that come in and Canadian military, and both are fucking bad actors in a lot of ways, but in different ways. Like Canadian police apparently doesn't give a fucking shit about the Mohawk people, and they actively incited like moments of the town nearby. Oka becomes very infuriated by the Mohawk people standing up to it, to the point where they burn an effigy and call it a savage. Like in 1990,
Wow.
It's just fucking insane watching this thing. It's a free documentary to watch on Tubi, by the way, as well as a few other sources where you can like rent it. But I have a Blu-ray copy I got from Vinegar Syndrome through a partner label.
Oh, nice.
And Sasha and I watched it right after watching the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's a weird choice, I know. But we
sobering
did.
Experience.
Yeah, a very sobering experience after. And it seems like it pairs perfectly to like really fuel your activist rage with Killers of the Flower Moon, because you watch like actual real world events unfold. You watch interviews with military, lieutenants that are talking fucking double speak in front of cameras. And you also get to watch like the rebels who go against those military, like they set up a perimeter. The military sets up a perimeter to cut off supply access to the protesting Mohawk people. And they're like, we're not cutting it off. We're still letting it through, but they have to go through 2 checkpoints and they have to check these things. We're also cutting off the shoreline too, because we don't know what they're smuggling in, and they have all these implications about it. And then there are these 2 fucking journalists from like college who put tarps under the razor wire and just crawled under and are like filming in the fucking behind the scenes. And they're like, look, the military doesn't know shit about this. We're filming right now. And they hard cut in the editing to the military lieutenants that are just like, we haven't heard anything about that. That's not true. There's nobody behind our lines. And you're just watching them be undercut, and it makes them look so fucking stupid.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love to hear it.
It ends pretty tragically with the Mohawk people being pushed off of that piece of land. They're weighted out. Like medical supplies basically become a 24-hour hindrance. Like people who have asthma can't get their fucking inhalers unless they cross this line, and they can never cross back, and that kind of bullshit. But it sparked a whole revolution in the 90s that has gotten some at least coverage and has pushed on the topics at hand, but there's still a fucking golf course. And by the end of it, you see like people golfing in the distance. And it just like, like the sport of golf, like nothing against it. But like in this instance, I was like, come on, why'd you have to fucking put a golf course here? This is so stupid. It's just an infuriating documentary. And I feel like it pairs really well with Killers of the Flower Moon, and like exposing how this isn't a thing from the 1920s. This is still a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it still happens. And it was a beautifully heartbreaking documentary about it. So yeah, I recommend that. That's my renegade recommend is for the Kanehsatake 270 Years of Resistance. It was just really fucking mind opening, beautiful stuff. As tragic as it was. Yeah. Anyways, any questions about it? Comments?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds incredible. It sounds like that does really pair well with Killers of the Flower Moon. It sounds like it also pairs well with the Israel-Palestine conflict that's going on right now. And like it's, I feel like we're at a point in society right now where we need to stop being like, oh my God, this only happened X number of years ago and we were still racist pieces of shit. It's just like, we're still that way now, right? And it's like, there's always a justification for it. Whatever the conflict is, whether it's manifest destiny and getting rid of American tribes, or whether it's like, Nazi Germany or Israel Palestine or whatever the situation is, or slavery, there's always a justification for like why this version of genocide or ethnic cleansing is okay, right? But like we keep doing it over and over, and every generation justifies their own version of it and condemns previous generations for doing it. And it's just like, it's just so upsetting to see it currently happening in modern society, and us being like, well, we're better than we were 200 years ago. We don't do things like that anymore. It's like, well, we don't do that as much on our homeland anymore as we used to. We still do it, but not to the same degree. But it's like, we just move it somewhere else and, continue to profit economically off of the slaughter of a different group of people, and it's like, in order for the American empire to keep going, we have to find groups of people to fuck with and take all their shit, and it's just like, it's just so upsetting to see it continue to happen. And maybe it moves further away from America every time, or just, it's distant parts of the globe, Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, wherever. And, but we just keep doing it over and over, and we don't really seem to give a shit. But we all act like we're just wonderful, moral people. And, oh yeah, the things that we did, in the past, but we would never do that again. At least like somewhere that was like visible, where people would notice it, where like our media wouldn't cover it up and defend us and act like you were like a hateful, evil person for questioning whether we should be funding wars overseas to slaughter innocent people. But yeah, I mean, all that to say, the documentary sounds fascinating. I really want to check that out. But yeah, it just makes me think about Killers of the Flower Moon, but it also makes me think about current events. And yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would even say, yeah, the things that happen further away, like the other day talking about the chocolate industry and like how fucked up like everything is there and how it's only gotten worse, even though the chocolate industry keeps promising that it's better and they're doing even more to make it better.
Didn't Willy Wonka fix the chocolate industry?
Yeah, he took all of those indigenous people and put them in his factory.
I can't wait to see the origin story of that with Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah,
yes.
how he like enslaved the local little people population and forced them to work in his factory.
It's okay because they're all Hugh Grant and they're British. So
fuck the Brits. We can enslave them. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think of the ideas of the cover-ups of the issues at the Wonka factory where he's like, yeah, we lose it. Some of them drown every couple of weeks, But
they've been trying to form a union, but we've been stomping that shit out.
Stop that union fast.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, so I recommend Kanehsatake, 270 Years of Resistance. Just a fantastic documentary and a great pairing to Killers of the Flower Moon that kind of naturally occurred for me. And it got me riled up. I want to do shit. I want to go. I went to a few protests recently and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah. And the movie that I was going to bring, I could try to tie it back, but I'm not going to try to segue this. Okay. That's a heavier topic. I really don't need to do that. I watched another movie, and that was, I think I mentioned I'd watched Five Nights at Freddy's, and I was just kind of itching for like a decent horror film. Not that. I wasn't going to watch Willy's Wonderland because I know that that's more schlock with Nicolas Cage, which is fine.
It's got Nicolas Cage. Come on, it's got to be better than the version without Nicolas Cage.
It's true.
Come on.
Yeah. But I decided, you know what? I want to watch something. Sasha had said she wanted to watch a rom-com, and she opened the Criterion channel because Criterion is known for quality. And Criterion had In the Mouth of Madness, which is not a rom-com. It's a John Carpenter film with Sam Neill.
The riots began because the stores could not meet the demands of Sutter Kane's novel, In the Mouth of Madness.
Kane disappeared 2 months ago without a trace. He's the guy that writes horror books.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all. I need to know if he's alive or dead, and I need that book.
It's a setup. I just have to work out how it's set up.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
See this? It's a map.
This whole thing has been staged.
You just get out.
This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
And she just saw that and was like, what is this? And she loves that kind of classic horror stuff. She loves John Carpenter. She loves The Thing. She loves They Live. And she was like, what's going on? I was like, it's a John Carpenter film, and it's got, Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. She said, all right, say no more. Let's watch it.
And it's about an insurance investigator.
So
hell yeah.
Yes, an insurance investigator.
We love double indemnity.
Yeah, we love double indemnity, don't we, folks? We love committing it.
It's a beautiful film. Barbara Stanwyck, she's a 10, folks.
I wish she was my daughter. Anyways, so In the Mouth of Madness, it's a 1994 film directed by John Carpenter, starring Sam Neill. And it's about Sam Neill is an insurance like he's a fraud verifier. He basically goes in, he sniffs out.
He's Edward G. Robinson from
he's
Double
Edward G.
Indemnity.
Robinson from Double Indemnity. And so he goes in being Edward G. Robinson, and he's just like, all right, I'm gonna figure out if this case brought by a publisher is bullshit. And the case is basically, hey, our writer, he's written a lot of successful books, way bigger than Stephen King. The whole movie goes to a great effort to make sure that you know that Sutter Kane, the author, is way better than Stephen King ever will be. And his movie or his books are like fucking terrifying. And they're like, he went missing and we need to file this insurance claim. We have no idea what happened. And this whole thing. So Sam Neill's character goes out to investigate that and finds out that the town he's gone to investigate, it's like a town from a book that Sutter Kane has written. It is odd. Everybody in it there's like an empty town when it needs to be. And other times there's crowds that like show up and they mob. And there's a church that like stands like an obelisk. It's just this dark looming presence in the town. And Sam Neill is trying to figure out like, okay, how full of shit is this publishing company? Are they sending me out here for a publicity stunt? Is that what this is about? Am I just here to kind of say like, oh yeah, Sutter Kane, he's gone completely insane and blah, blah, blah. And is that going to kind of fall back on them? But it becomes quickly this story of like, okay, what's reality and what's not, and how impressionable is a medium. Like the books that Sutter Kane writes have a clear power over people, and it like corrupts them and it makes them evil, and they follow these different words and texts, and like it becomes cultish, and you're trying to figure out the entire time, like, is he actually just becoming delusional? It starts in like an insane asylum, and Sam Neill is locked away, and the framing device is this guy comes to ask him what his experience with Sutter Kane's books are and all of this stuff. And that's how you get the whole story sort of framed that way. Really, this movie, just John Carpenter flexing again that he can do some really fucking wild shit with practical effects. And he sets up a lot of really cool set pieces. Like certain parts of the scenes will break through with like, like a wall will bust open and there's text on the other side, like a big book. It's like you're busting out of the pages of it. Other scenes are like monsters that are all puppeted, and they're just these horrific creatures that don't make any logical sense, but they're unsettling to see. And there are other parts where you're stuck in like an infinite loop in the darkness of like a night road. It reminded me of some of the shots that I've seen in like David Lynch films and that kind of thing. It conjures dreams and nightmares in a really tangible way. And at the center of it is Sam Neill trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and eventually kind of relenting to the fact that like he's just too far gone in this psychosis, and he has no idea how to process what's going on, and is trying to like grasp at whatever he could to ground himself. We were both fucking compelled. Like from the start of it, Sasha and I were trying to figure out what was going on. There were parts that were really disturbing, like old people talking with children's voices, and like other pieces of it that have these like prosthetic creatures coming in from the darkness and like chasing down Sam Neill, and people gaining superhuman strength and just chucking people through walls and other shit like that. That's like, holy fuck, what is all of this? I wouldn't say that the story is really well put together. It's kind of messy, in my opinion. And at the end of it, I still wasn't entirely sure what was trying to be gained from it, other than like, this is kind of the influences. I see it as like an extension of They Live, where there's like an extensive influence that pop culture and media can have on mass audiences, and how it can cause like hysteria and communal delusion and that kind of stuff. And so I found it fascinating from that perspective. But at the end of it, I can't really tell you what Sutter Kane wanted, or what like the villains, there's like other demonic forces that are in it, what they actually want other than invading the world with their thoughts. It really seems like more of a discussion piece than like you're going to watch it and you're going to understand immediately what's happening and when. But I loved it. I loved the journey. It was great. In my opinion, I had a fantastic time with it. And Sam Neill just he just goes all out for it. And this is
nice.
after Jurassic Park. All right. Jurassic Park's 93.
Yeah. A year later.
Yeah. So like
This
Sam Neill
is-
just kind of giving it all here.
This is Event Horizon Sam Neill, where he's just all in. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I also watched a movie with the kid from Jurassic Park in the same week, and that was called Star Kid, but that's another story for another time. So
thank you for not telling us about Star Kid.
You're welcome.
That sounds really interesting. I've seen a handful of Carpenter films. I've not seen all of his works, but I pretty much always enjoy movies that I've seen. I didn't love Escape from New York. It's like okay, but I didn't really kind of understand why people love that movie. But other than that, it was like Halloween, The Thing, They Live. Like, you know, I've seen a lot of his stuff that I've really enjoyed, and I've always heard mixed things about In the Mouth of Madness, and I've been intrigued to check it out, but I haven't gotten to it yet. And there's some other Carpenter movies I haven't seen too. Like I need to see the Fog and some other things like that. But how do you feel like it stacks up against other Carpenter films that you've seen?
I mean, it's lower for me than They Live and The Thing. In terms of like Halloween, I feel like it's even below that. It's really creative, and it's John Carpenter getting to do some fantastic things with practical puppets and effects. And I felt like it was much more experimental, and him kind of playing around with like, what if I had the rights to like a Stephen King book, and like how far could I take that? But yeah, like I haven't seen too much of Carpenter either. This is kind of towards the lower part of my ranking. But I think as I continue to see more of his movies, especially in a like more contemporary, like when I get to Escape from LA and that kind of stuff, I think this will rise.
Haven't
above.
seen that one.
Yeah, this will probably rise above those and be just its own kind of caliber film. I think it would be more interesting to pair it with a Stephen King book, like a Stephen King adaptation that's not The Shining by Kubrick. Like you're going to set yourself up for failure there, but you like pair it with something else, it might be interesting to observe. So yeah, that's kind of where it sits in my rankings. Ryan, you haven't seen this, right?
No, I haven't seen it. Carpenter kind of hits it down. Like his career kind of has gone slower, and this is right in that window of Memoirs of Invisible Man, which I brought up when we were talking about the Invisible Man movies. It was like technically in that canon, but not, and questionable with Chevy Chase. And this, it kind of goes down. Like Escape from LA is like, what if you got more of Escape from New York? Okay, like did I want more? And yeah, so I'm like, he kind of drops off, I think. So I haven't seen this, but it's been on my short list because I feel like it comes up in that kind of cult status level, which like They Live does as well, but it's clear, like even just like looking at it, that I'm like, They Live is better, and then just really has a lot going for it. So yeah, it's been in my list to watch, but I just for whatever reason just kind of keep not getting around to it.
Yeah, there's certain parts of it that don't feel as clean cut as they could, or if it was given more time, would it know what to do with it? Like that's kind of the vibe I got from some of the pacing and the set pieces, was like they show you something and then they immediately move on. And I can't tell if it's because Carpenter had really cool ideas for each of these moments and not really a keen sense of how to tie them together, or if it really was the case that like he just sort of had this idea and was like, I just want to try these things out and go through it, and we'll see how it goes. But I felt like there could have been more time invested into character relationships, kind of like fleshing out how they might show up in this delusion and how your mind might play with reality. As it stands, though, just a cool practical and technical display is what I feel it results in.
Interesting.
General Carpenter kind of, like Halloween is his big hit, and I would say the one that's like most approachable to a general audience, and obviously the most known to a general audience. But I feel like everything else that is his, even that's the really good things, kind of there are some weak-ish points to them, and to most audiences they're like a pass, like they just don't catch them, because even like They Live and The Thing are like, they're really great and they're really interesting, but they're almost like a little too much of a concept for people, or a little too weird for a lot of people. Like Big Trouble in Little China is a great example of like being too weird for too many people. But good in its own right, I think. Like, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Most important question, do they have to pay out on the insurance claim?
No.
They don't even get back to that.
And I won't say why. I won't say why. But they justify it in a way.
You didn't see it coming, Keys. I was right behind you the whole time.
They do have to use dictaphones. But yeah. So there you go. In the Mouth of Madness. I would recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah.
John recommending 2 unrelated movies this week.
2 completely unrelated movies. And yeah, that will, I think, draw things to a close. So we have a shrug recommend for Marvels from Ryan.
I guess. Yeah.
He's really
fine.
Selling you on it.
It's amazing to me that we're at the point where Marvel is just like, I don't know, we'll call it Marvel. Like, it's just like,
they just gave up.
Gave a fucking name, like, whatever. It's a Marvel movie. You're gonna go fucking see it. You're gonna go fucking see it. You fucking piece of shit. Like, what are you gonna do? Not see it? We're gonna call it Marvels, and you're just gonna go and you're gonna like it.
They were called Marvels before. Ryan knows. He's restraining.
I'm gonna say in the comics they created Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe strictly as a copywriting thing. Like they were like, our thing is Marvel, and we don't even want anyone else to be distracted by it, so we're gonna put Marvel on our cover.
Because Shazam used to be called?
Because it was Captain Marvel, now we know as Shazam, was in the comics, and DC had acquired those comics and was using that, and they didn't want it. They were trying to fight the copyright, so they're like, if we put Captain Marvel on something, then we can go to court and have an argument.
Just goes to show
no one won.
Copyright always fuels artistic vision, everybody. It's really a helpful aid when it comes to...
And thus, Shazam spawned Shaq's movie career.
Yes. And some weird Mandela effect for Sinbad. Why not? So we have as well the
Once Within a Time.
Once Within a Time.
Strong recommendation for Once Within a Time. It's really fucking good. You should check it out.
Once Within a Time, everybody. That's a strong recommendation as opposed to the shrug recommendation for Marvels. And then we have, I would say, strong recommendation for Kanehsatake, 270 Years of Resistance, and I will say a recommendation for In the Mouth of Madness. It's a John Carpenter film. It's one of the lower tier for me, but I still really enjoyed it. I had a fun time. Heard that our previous guest, Eric, did not have as much of a good time watching it. I don't know. I think that balances out.
Yeah, no, I think that works.
So there you have it, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Recommend or Refute at Afterthoughts. I have been your host, John Garcia. With me, as always,
Ryan King. Yeah, it wouldn't be an episode if John or I didn't try to break the rules or stay on the fence about something.
One of us has to be a maverick renegade with a 44 Magnum, most powerful handgun in the world.
Blow your head clean off. I would say I do break the rules occasionally, but it's always like I watched the remake of this movie and I want to talk about, but it's like there makes sense when I break the rules. When you people break the rules, it's just like mass chaos. Just ignoring the rules entirely.
That's right. So we're talking about a Tom Brady versus a not Tom Brady breaking of the rules is what I'm understanding here.
What are we talking about? Deflategate versus...
who's the Belichick in this situation? I'm not entirely sure.
Deflategate versus Bountygate? Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. And I live by bounty law.
I'm just deflating the balls a little bit. You guys are putting bounties on opposing players and trying to kill them.
It's escalating, everybody. It's escalating.
There are too many gates. I can't remember.
Yeah. Of course, and that voice that you heard that is talking about bounty and Deflategate.
Michael Dixon, thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.